on as soon as we're there.
Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar. We are so excited that you've all chosen to join us today. We have a fantastic session ahead. We're joined by James and David, and we'll go on to some intros in just a second. But today we're going to dig into some strategies and techniques to help you master the art of around-the-clock client success in real estate. So before we all go into introductions, we're going to have a quick look at what we're going to cover today. So I want to say thank you to every single person on the call for choosing to spend your time today with us. It means a lot, so thank you. And we want to make this webinar as action-led as possible. So you're all going to have opportunities to partake, and we've got QR codes to scan and ask questions throughout. And we also want to make everything as action-led as possible. So there's going to be an opportunity to take tangible next steps away so that you've got next steps and things you can do today to help make your business thrive in 2024. In terms of what we're going to cover, there's kind of two sections split up here. We're going to cover how to kind of make yourself more successful in real estate. So we're going to think about how we define client success in real estate, and we're also going to dig into examples of how you can improve your client journey, and also thinking about potential drop-off points in the buying decision funnel. And then we're also going to lean on the experience of James and David here to understand the power of providing exceptional client experiences and how to deliver a multi-million-dollar experience in real estate. So I hope you're all as excited as we are to dig in. Let's start and let's go through some introductions. James, David, you need no introduction. You know, I'm so happy to be on the call with you guys today. It's an absolute pleasure from my side. I was looking at some stats about you both, you know, over 25 years of collective experience, over $3 billion in real estate sold since 2017, and ranked as a number 2 team nationwide by Real Trends and Tom Ferry, the 2023. Legends. And it's great to be working with you today. How are you both?
Doing great, and thank you so much for having us. And I got to assume a webinar with one Scottish man and 2 Brits is going to be fun and full of great information. And we're happy to be here and happy to be with SignMore this morning. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, maybe from my accent, everyone can hear the fact that, not based in the US myself, and slightly different British accent than James and David here. I'm
I don't know what my wife would think where you were from. Maybe she would know, but she can't tell, you know, even from different parts of England, let alone Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, etc. She can't really hone in, but maybe she would. But there you go.
I do think it's quite interesting in the UK that it's such a small country, yet the accents vary so wildly between different locations.
You know,
mad. Yeah, it really
By the
is.
way, quick question, totally off topic, Fraser. Your backdrop is amazing. Is that your house or your office?
It's actually, it's my office. I have to say thank you very much. I'm trying not to kill any plants. That is like my #1 goal. And I promise they are actually real. So I'm doing an okay job so far.
Wow. Beautiful, really beautiful. Just the wood paneling as well.
You're doing a great job. And I know I meant to stay in the private chat, but I'm in the comments, and I'm thrilled that we've got people from Denver and Arizona and New Jersey. And then we've been graced with Josh Flagg. So how lucky are we? We've got Oklahoma, we've got Calgary. So we've got a really great group of agents here, and we're really excited to be here. Dave and I started our business, 12 years ago. I've been in the US for 20 plus years. It's been a crazy, crazy journey. 8 of those years on $1 Million Listing. You know, we filmed over 100 episodes of the show with Mr. Flag. And here we are today, like Fraser said, with 3 billion in sold properties. Somehow I'm not covered in gray hair. And we're excited to be here and hopefully share some of our little tidbits in business that will help other agents around America. So thank you for having us, and we're really excited to be here.
Awesome. And I need some tips from you around the hair. I mean, I'm losing it. So, that's a conversation for another day. Live in LA,
you'll have a full head of hair. Don't worry. There's things for that. There's things for everything in LA, Fraser.
That's the secret.
No. I'm joking. Let's continue.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much again for joining us on the call today. Just to introduce myself properly, I'm Fraser and I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at SignMore. As I said, you can tell by my accent, I am based in Scotland in the UK, but our team at SignMore is based across the US, and we work with real estate agents and brokerages and property professionals all throughout the US, providing people-first solutions. And I'll come on to a bit about what that means later on in today's webinar. But what I want to focus on right now is how you can all get involved, how everyone on this call can take part today, because we really want to hear from all of you. Hopefully this works okay, but if you scan the QR codes here, it should take you to Mentimeter, which is the platform we're using to gather kind of polls, insights, and questions throughout. In addition to that, please ask questions at any time. As James said, it's great to see so many of you commenting and joining from different platforms. Please continue to do that. You can do it directly on StreamYard or in the platform that you're watching from, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, or further afield. So yeah, to kickstart and to check that it is working on Mentimeter, hopefully it is, we have a question for you all. So on the next slide here, I want you to think about 2024. First of all, well done for surviving 2023. We know it was tough, tough for real estate agents throughout the US, throughout the world, to be honest with you, globally. But hey, 2024 is new, it's exciting, it's a fresh start, and there's so much to be thankful for, and there's so much positivity around the corner. So if you flash forward to the end of 2024, we are curious, which 3 words would you use to describe your year? How would you describe an amazing year? If you add those in now, and they should start to come on screen. Oh, I like transformative. That's a great word.
Yeah, I do love powerful, successful, and better. So better. As long as you're getting better, you're succeeding. As long as you're moving forward, as long as you're progressing, not regressing, you're doing well. And I will add healthy. You know, you can't do this with an unhealthy lifestyle. This business is bonkers. You cannot do it if you're being unhealthy. If you're not taking care of yourself first, you cannot go out and become the best version of yourself. So you have to be healthy and happy as a big part of that, for sure.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Great points. And thank you so much, everyone that's, taken part there. Successful, obviously, has been called out. Growth, rewarding, success. So fantastic. Thank you so much. These are really good words, and we really want to give you all those positive vibes for 2024. So thinking then about how we achieve that, I'm curious, what is one challenge that you're all looking to overcome this year? So a little bit tougher, but what is something we all need to look at in ourselves or our business to achieve that success in 2024?
So are you asking Dave and I that question?
So I think some of our audience members might be answering some questions as well, but yeah, please fire away. If you've got some thoughts, James, David, please add. I'd love to hear.
Yes, go for it, Dave.
I think, I always like to look back at the year and have achieved something different or in addition to the year before, because otherwise there's no growth, right? It's nice. If you look at it, we're around, I don't know, let's just talk about, work and life in general. Our careers probably, I don't know, in totality, it's probably about 40 years. What do you think? 40-year career, something like that, 20 to 60, give or take, maybe a bit more, maybe 45 years. You can actually achieve everything in the following year that you achieved in the prior year, plus something else. you basically, at the end of that, even if you start on one accomplishment in a year, you're going to get to some 45, 46 accomplishments in a single year, right? Towards the end. So you're kind of accumulating and accumulating. So I like to each year have achieved something more. And there's always different challenges. There's always different obstacles. That's what keeps it fun. But for this year, for argument's sake, a challenge that I would want to overcome, and it's not something like I want to sell $1 billion of real estate. I want to sell, we've already, done that, or we're working towards that. I think it's to really, face my challenges head on, fearlessly, right? And, a lot of it is just in my mind. I personally, I'm speaking of experience. I always think something's a real challenge, whether it's, meeting this client, or whether it's, going and door knocking this listing, or whether it's showing up in general. And I find that a lot of it's in my mind. 99% of it's in my mind. 1% of it is actually maybe real. And that's just how insignificant the reality versus my mind. So I think just to be more cognizant of that, that my fear is not actually real, right? And just deal with things head on, and not procrastinate. And I think that's more of a generic one for me, but that's something that even at this stage of my career, I still need to get a grip on.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Very well said. I think so many people can probably relate to that, David, in terms of it's mind over matter for so much of this. And I also loved what you mentioned there around the power of compounding, consistently trying to do more and more and more, and then watching on a zoomed out level how far you've come. I think the power of progress is so much to do with consistency and compounding.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So I think moving on to our next, thank you everyone in the audience for participating there as well. I think we got some really great words there as well in terms of things to overcome this year. In terms of the next step, I'm really curious, James, David, as successful real estate professionals, I'm sure everyone would love to hear from you both of how you define client success in your business.
Yeah, I think client success is the obvious, right? Is doing a good job by your client and making them feel special, right? I think in real estate, the key to success in real estate is your pipeline, right? You're trying to constantly build your pipeline, because the bigger your pipeline, the more success you're going to have inevitably, right? But the key to success in this business is maintaining that pipeline and keeping your clients happy and making your clients feel special. When you're in the room with that client, making them feel like they are the only client, making them feel special. And, this is a business that, as it says here, personal relationships are so key. You have to really invest in each relationship individually. You have to really make sure that you make that client feel special, and that you are going outside of the box in the way that you think in terms of how you are going to sell that property. And I think real estate is such a interesting business. It's simple, but people love to complicate it. But the most powerful thing in this business is having knowledge and information at your fingertips. So when you're with your client, making them feel like you are the professional in that field, making them feel like there is nobody better than you that's going to service that client. And once that client feels special, taken care of, and trusted, and on top of that, you're actually smart and intelligent and have the information, you will have that client forever and ever. And then I do think, the most important thing in this business is transparency. It's honesty. It's telling a client, if they want to buy a house and you actually don't think it's a good house, being able to say the word no. I don't think this is the right property, or I think it's too expensive, or I'm not sure about the location, or hey, I get you love it, but in 5 years, I think it's going to be a tricky property to sell. Once a client hears you actually tell the truth as if it was you buying that house, again, you've earned that client forever. So trust is the key to success in this business. Being authentic, being genuine, being yourself, and maintaining those relationships is to us the definition of client success in our business.
Fantastic. Yeah, very, very well put. I just to pick up on a couple of things you mentioned there, I think this idea of maintaining your pipeline, but while you're doing that, being super present with the client that's in front of you is foundational. And if we move on to kind of the next slide here, I just want to touch on a couple of bits that you've mentioned and kind of what we're doing at SignMore and what we're seeing to kind of complement that. I think what we see is that real estate agents are so fantastic at kind of what we would call the top of the funnel, driving awareness, building your pipeline, maintaining your pipeline, as you said, really trying to grow their business and get activity and interest on listings. They're also fantastic at selling, closing that deal, getting the results over the line. But where things can fall down is this middle section of the funnel, because ultimately that's where you're busy. You're running around day to day, you're in meetings, you're showing houses, you're with clients, you're trying to balance all. And let's be honest, it is super hard. We all want to be in all places at once, but it's very difficult to do so. So yeah, I think that idea of how you can sort of think outside the box and be really kind of like present with your client as you're in front of them, whilst making sure that you're there for other clients when they happen to be in touch with you, is really important. And what we see at SignMore is that's what agents use us for, is this kind of missing link. So our property receptionists are here 24/7, answering calls, replying to client queries, qualifying leads, so that when you're busy, you're not missing those valuable opportunities as they come through.
Couldn't agree with you more. And on the previous slide, one of the words was balance, right? Having a healthy balance in this business is near impossible. I see Bettina here says, I'm burned out and frankly tired of people trying to get over it. Hey, we hear you loud and clear. Being in the real estate business, people always ask us, how do you balance family and business? And it's the one thing that I think we can all say we struggle with. And I will say what SignMore has done and created is it actually allows the agent to have a more balanced lifestyle. If there are people, for example, if you say at 6 p.m., I'm turning the phone off, I want to be with my children. I'm going to be with my children. I'm going to be with my wife. I'm going to be with my husband.
I don't think I've ever done that before, to be honest with you. It's a nice thought, but yes, you're right.
Thought, and I think if you can actually trust that the person that's going to pick up the phone or respond to a call is someone trusted, I really genuinely think SignMore is a phenomenal service that will allow you to create a healthier lifestyle and a healthier balance. So,
and actually, I could not agree more. It's always about James and I speaking. Like, we're the first to pick up the phone. We're always there. Our clients can always get hold of us. So genuinely, SignMore is literally that missing link, because ultimately it's the missing link between having to be on your phone 24/7 and not. So and by the way, there's clients that are international on different time zones that could be calling at 1 a.m. or midnight when we're genuinely asleep, and SignMore can pick that up as well. So actually makes a lot of sense. It's actually a godsend, come to think of it.
Oh my gosh, what a job you're doing here, James and David. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Foundationally, what SignMore is trying to do is to be your sidekick, right? Your trusty sidekick in the world of real estate. You are the expert at generating the marketing awareness at the top of the funnel. You are the expert when it comes to negotiations and getting those deals over the line. But in between, get some help. To your point, if you're unavailable, if you're sleeping, if it's after hours, SignMore's definitely here to help agents. And that's what we're doing for kind of agents across the US every single day. Awesome. So if we move on, this is just a quick slide showing some of SignMore's features. We've kind of covered a little bit of this just through our discussions there, but I thought it would be helpful just to call out what SignMore can do for real estate agents. One there is a 24/7 reception. So to your point, after hours, if people are phoning from different geographical locations, we are 24/7, 365. That includes after hours, it includes holidays, it includes weekends, all fully inclusive of 24/7. Lead qualification, this is something we find is a must for so many real estate agents out there. You're spending so much money to drive awareness and drive leads and activity at the top of the funnel, but then that qualification piece takes up so much time. What we can do is work with agents to build a custom script so that we're qualifying callers based on your set criteria and then passing qualified leads directly to you for follow-up. And we find that's what so many agents use us for, and it really saves them time and stops, you weeding through potentially information that's a bad fit. After hours, we've kind of covered that. Bilingual service, this is quite an interesting one. You know, we see that in a competitive market, when agents are looking to kind of extend their reach to capture more clients, this is a feature that's used quite heavily, you know, potentially bringing in Spanish-speaking regions and being able to target and advertise towards them. And then also live call transfers. So not only will SignMore's property receptionists take messages on behalf of agents, will also transfer calls real time. So based again on your criteria, we can make sure that every call that is important gets straight through to you. We don't want to hide calls from you. If they're important, we'll make sure those clients get through to you based on what the information you want to share with us. And finally, we also will give you real-time notifications. You don't have to wait a day for things to be processed. It's real-time, it's instant via app, email, and also into the CRM you use every day.
What's great as well is, sorry to interrupt, is not only you know, are you able to probably save hiring someone, right? It kind of gets you to that next level without having to hire an assistant, so to speak, because this is a big deal to be available 24/7, lead qualification. In fact, it's even better than an assistant. I think it's probably one of the greatest investments that you can make in your career.
Massively appreciate it. Yeah, I agree, David. I think especially as, you know, 2023 was tough, you know, and as we go through 2024, there's more activity going to happen. Inventory is going to pick up. You know, we're starting to see some early signs of it in certain territories. I think, you know, you want to be able to focus your time and effort where you can make the most value with your business. So I think it is something that's worth investing, and to have that always on reassurance, you know, for a low monthly cost is something that agents are finding really valuable.
What is the monthly cost?
So yeah, coming on to that, at the very end, we've got a promo for everyone, not to spoil our alert.
I jumped the gun again, I apologize.
No, it's great. So the monthly cost for SignMore, the standard kind of best value plan is $395 a month, and that gives you 350 minutes. But as James and David are special SignMore partners, we're offering everyone 30% off the first 3 months. And we've got a QR code at the end, and we'll also email that out to all attendees to sign up after the webinar.
Amazing. And can you explain just a little bit about, and I know I've obviously used it, but for the audience, because this was one of my first questions, is it's a certain number of hours, correct? For a certain number of months. If you don't use those hours, how does that work, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we have various SignMore plans, and they're all based on number of minutes. So the best value plan is 350 minutes, and we find that suits most agents. So if you think about an average phone call, our data shows it takes around 3 minutes, roughly. So you're talking, you know, just over 100 plus calls a month that we can take and, you know, go through the information that we talked about before in terms of lead qualification and asking questions.
And the best part is it's actually tailored to everyone, right? So, you know, you have the different plans. You know, I could say I'm not so busy right now, but I plan to get busier. So you can kind of, you know, tweak it as you go along, right? You can change your plans to custom. You know, less wastage is what I'm saying, even though it's a great deal anyway. The price is incredible, frankly.
I agree. Yeah. So we can scale up and scale down. You're not tied into a fixed contract. It's rolling month on month. And we also allow you the ability to scale up and scale down your plan in your online account. So it's super easy. If you know you've got a busy period coming up, or you know that you're going to be running extra marketing activities and you're planning for your phone to ring off the hook, scale up. And then it allows you to have that, you know, protection. And when those extra calls do come through, or likewise, if it's maybe the holiday period and you think you're going to have a bit of a drop in call volume, you can scale down so you're not paying the higher amount every month.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, build per minute, and we just kind of are charging for the interaction that our receptionist is having with your end caller. And we can come on to a bit more of kind of the different technology that's also included as part of that. So it's not just the phone side. We also are given a range of tech as part of the SignMore plan.
Incredible.
Awesome. So I think in terms of the next slide that we have, we wanted to touch a little bit on the problem. So I think, you know, now that we know a bit more about SignMore, I just think it's important to kind of jump into this problem of like why phone calls are actually important, because I think it's a fair question to say, hold on a minute, it's 2024. Is the phone call still important? Are people using the phone? There's so many methods to communicate with a business. Why does it matter? What we can see through our data is it matters a huge amount. And I'm sure you can both agree that in real estate, the phone is still number one. right?
It sure is. There's
Totally.
nothing more important than answering the phone. I'm sorry. It's all about communication. This business is all about communication. So if you cannot answer the phone, let somebody answer the phone for you. It's just about letting the person at the other end of the phone know that you are available and that you are ready to answer a question at any given time. And by the way, if you don't answer the phone, guess what? They're calling somebody else. You know, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's a crazy statistic, like 1.6 million licensed agents in America. I'm sure someone will correct me on that number. But there's other people that your clients can call if you don't answer the phone. And I remember before I started in this business, and then when I started in the business, I was blown away by how many agents didn't pick up their phone or didn't return a phone call. It's such an easy thing to do, and it's such an important thing to do in this business. So yes, missing calls is a problem in this business, for sure.
What's also great is there's only one of you, right? So there's one of you typically. What if you're on the phone and you're getting another call at the same time, but you can't cut that call? SignMore could come into that as well, right? So that's a missed call effectively. It happens to me all the time. And now we have SignMore, it doesn't. But the point is, it's like, I'll be on the phone to a really important client and then another really important client will call, or I can see an inbound leads coming in, right? I can't pick that up because I can't get off the phone. So the fact that you guys are there for that as well is huge.
Absolutely. And also just to touch on that, you know, we can set up quite intelligent routing, you know, so basically we can answer all your calls. We can just take calls after hours. We can just take calls if you're unable to, you know, reach it. So maybe we allow it to ring 3 times. And if you can't handle it, then it comes over to us. So we can work with you to find out what suits your business, your setup, so that it feels natural in terms of your flow.
I love that person. Yeah, but that's what another thing I love about SignMore is the personalized nature of it, right? The fact that you can actually adapt and tailor to the individual, because everyone's different, right? We do the same thing, but everyone has a different routine and a different way of doing it. I always love the way that SignMore can actually adapt to us rather than us adapt to SignMore. To me, that's very valuable.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And just probably to touch on, you know, what David said there for everyone on the call is when you sign up to SignMore, the first thing that we do is get to know your business. Number one, we want to understand you. What types of calls do you receive? What's your call flow? How do you qualify leads so that we can carve a customized script based on your set criteria? It's so important. We don't have, you know, one size fits all. This is not cookie cutter. Everyone is individual, and we want to make sure that we give a great experience for your brand and what you expect.
Love that.
Awesome. So moving on then, in terms of kind of 24/7 support. So yeah, based on what we're talking about there in terms of the phone call being important, what we see from SignMore's side is that 25% of all property calls come in outside of office hours, including weekends. And also the most common time for off-peak calls is coming in that early slot in the morning. So between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. So again, to the point, you know, James and David have both made is, you know, you might be, imagine you're on the school run, you're on another call, you're running to a meeting, you know, that support first thing in the morning or end of day or after hours is kind of what SignMore's here to help with. And I think, you know, James also mentioned earlier that sometimes clients are potentially coming from outside of your home geographical location. So again, time zone coverage, you know, you want to potentially extend your buyer pool. Maybe someone's in a different time zone. Maybe they're outside the country. SignMore can help with that as well to make sure that you're not missing those valuable leads as they do come through. I'm also curious in terms of, you know, James and David, you know, you're obviously well versed in the LA culture and, you know, it is quite, you know, hustle. There's a lot of kind of always on, you know, and you mentioned before it is hard to strike a balance. Is there anything that you have found has worked for both of you in terms of trying to get that balance between kind of family life and, you know, work, being busy and everything else you've got on your plate?
There's never really, you know, it's not easy, but like James said, to turn our phone off and not have to worry about it, to be with our families, that's a big deal. And again, I keep going back to SignMore, but it has changed everything for that, right? And I could never do that before. But ultimately, you know, you've got to be present because time goes so quickly, your life goes so quickly, your kids grow so quickly. And it's important not to miss that, to be as present as possible. I struggle with it. But again, you know, it's a work in progress. I'm a work in progress.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think that, you know, summarizes that really, really well. Moving on, we want to give an opportunity for everyone that is watching, tuning in, whichever platform you're watching from, to ask any questions. So at this point, please ask questions directly in StreamYard or directly, you know, on the platform you're watching from, and we're going to pull any of these questions on screen now to try and answer some of these for you before we continue.
I do see one here from Val Lamano. Why don't seller agents leave feedback after showing a home? My current realtor calls to ask for feedback, but the showing agent never replies back. Such a great question. I mean, information is so important in this business. Feedback to your seller is so important in this business. So if the current realtor calls to ask for feedback, but the showing agent never replies, call them, text them, email them, get the feedback. Because guess what? If you have a house that's on the market, let's say it's $1 million, but it's really worth 700,000, you need that feedback to go and get a price reduction. You need to have a spreadsheet for every listing that you have that has a name of the buyer that saw the property, the date, the time they saw the property, and most importantly, the feedback. If you start seeing a consistency in the feedback, it's something to do with the clutter in the home or the paint color of the home, or people can't see through the personal photographs of the home, or they feel it's too expensive. You'll start to see a consistent flow, and that is only going to help you and better set you up for getting a price reduction. So feedback really is key, and the communication with your client is so key. And often we don't want to call our clients and tell them why other people didn't like their home or why they didn't want to buy their home. But the truth of the matter is you have to be upfront, you have to be honest, you have to be transparent, because if you're not, it's only going to bite you later for not keeping them in the loop, keeping them up to speed, and keeping them in the know. So the key to this is communication with your client is key.
And I think it plays into, you know, the question of, you know, when your current realtor actually does reach out to the buying agent and ask for feedback. It's normally because the buyer's not interested, but that information of why they're not interested is also key. So what we do is, again, you know, you just got to keep calling. They've got to keep following up. And I guess it's because the showing agent just doesn't want to give bad news, or frankly can't be bothered to give news that isn't going to benefit them, right? So I think those are probably the reasons, but I think just being consistent and keep calling to get that feedback will angle for a potential price reduction, to James's point.
Yeah, and I see another question here. Best advice for new agents starting out. And that is the key question of sort of, what do you do? How do you do it? Right. And so for us, the best thing that we were able to do when we started out, when we didn't have $1 in the bank, we didn't know how we were going to market ourselves, we didn't really know what we were doing. The advice that was given to us that all these years later we continue to give to others is get out in front of people, sit open houses. You know, every single Sunday you get the opportunity to sit an open house. That's 3 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday where you get the chance to interact with clients coming in. It costs you $0. It does cost you 3 hours of time. So you better make sure that you show up to an open house with a positive attitude and great energy. Show up ready to succeed. Make sure the house that you're sitting open, make sure you know all about that house, the intricacies of that house. Understand the house, the value of the house. If a buyer walks in and that house is not for them, make sure that you know of 3 other properties that might be off market. Make sure you know the escrows that are around that house. Make sure you know what's sold. Make sure that you're a wealth of information so that every person that comes in says, wow, this person knows their stuff. And if it's not that house, make sure you give them a reason to give you their number so that you can call them on Monday and tell them something that they did not know about another house. Be a wealth of information so that they want to give you their number, so that they're looking out for your call. Set a time. I'm going to call you at 10 a.m. Monday. I have a pocket. It's not on the market. Nobody knows about it. I'd love to share it with you. Get them engaged. Get them excited. And then, of course, Dave and I always talk about it. Door knocking, the power and success of door knocking. Again, it's free. It doesn't cost any money to do. It costs you time. Go out and door knock. Think how you can be different to the next 5 people that are door knocking. Think about what separates you from the competition, and go out with an enthusiastic energy and door knock and door knock and door knock. And make sure that if you're going to door knock or sit open houses, that you do it consistently over and over and over and over again. It's not something you can do once a week or once a month or twice a week or twice a month. It's something that you have to do repetitively over and over again. And you will be absolutely amazed at the results that come if you do these things consistently.
And don't forget, when you're joining an industry such as, real estate, becoming a realtor specifically, all you need to know is this is my perspective, there are highly successful agents out there, highly successful, that sell hundreds of millions, billions. So it's a proven industry. We're not reinventing the wheel. The fact that it's proven, the fact that there are hugely, highly successful agents out there, there's no excuse to fail other than not working hard enough, being dishonest, not believing in yourself, or giving up. If you don't give up, if you stay in your lane, act ethically, if you work harder than everyone else and smarter than everyone else, and the smarter part comes with experience, right? There is absolutely no reason not to become the best. The only thing stopping you is yourself. Literally, it's a fact, because the facts are there. It's proven. There's successful people in this industry, so it's not the industry that's a problem. It's not the real estate that's the problem. It's you that's the problem. If you're not doing those things, it's literally as logical as you can get.
Love that. We have another question that came in from, I think it was Jonathan, a transaction coordinator, or it was from Adam. I'm sorry, Adam. Is your transaction coordinator in-house, or do you outsource for that? We've actually done both. We've had someone in-house to TC all of our deals. We have 15 people on our team, 10 of which are in sales. So we had somebody in-house who was fantastic and great, and we loved her very much, and she did a great job by us. But right now we do outsource it. They do a phenomenal job. They charge you per transaction. It's a flat fee. And I do think that the transaction coordinator role is so important. Having that interaction with your client once you go into escrow, making your client feel like someone is really on top of it and crossing the T's and dotting the I's is really important. So if you are going to outsource, make sure that you interview that person. Make sure they're a good fit for you. Make sure they're communicative with the client. Make sure that they're responsive. That is so important. A seller might have a question about the seller disclosures or something to do with the escrow paperwork. Make sure that your TC is someone that's going to respond quickly, give them honest answers, and make sure that they know exactly what they're doing and how to do it. So really interview that person and make sure it's a good fit for you. We can keep going if we have time. How important is it to be on social media as a new agent? Go for it, Dave.
I think it's just a combination of everything, Back to James's point at the beginning, as a new agent, you want to be sitting open houses. You want to be out networking. You want to be meeting people. But getting your name out there is hugely important, whether it is, and I'm not saying, social media is the be all and end all, but it's just another component that you can utilize to get your name out there. So I would definitely say, listen, social media is pretty much free. You can set up your account. You can be consistent in your posting. You can put out good content that people want to see. And it's your network. Your network are going to see you. And they need to be constantly reminded that you are a realtor, that you are selling houses, that you are, great at what you do, that you're consistent. Because when they want to sell their house, you want them to think of you. These are just people This could be friends. It could be friends of friends. It could be family. But unless they're constantly reminded that you do what you do, they may not think of you. And you know what's incredible? This market is crazy. Everyone either rents or buys a house. Everyone for the most part, right? So look at all that business. If you know 100 people, or if you know 200 people, if you know 1,000 people, they are 1,000 potential clients. You want to friend them on your social media. You want them to see that you are in real estate, that you sell houses, or that you can represent them on buying a house or leasing a house. Can you imagine every single person you know is living somewhere? You want to be that representation of them. So definitely get on social media, brand yourself, and show everyone that you know what you do.
And I'll just add one piece to that, back to open houses, back to door knocking. It's the same thing with social media. Unless you are consistent, you might as well not do it. Because in this business, consistency is key. You can't go out and do one video and expect you're going to get 100 leads. You got to do 1,000 videos to expect you're going to get 100 leads. This business is all about throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. But if you're going to do a video, don't overthink it. You don't need lighting. You don't need to edit it. You don't need to do 500 things and then overthink about it and then not post it and then post it and then take it down. And then second question yourself, you've got to just keep putting out fresh content. Has to be authentic to who you are. Has to feel real. Has to be engaging. But if you're going to do it once a week and then move on to the next thing and then move on to the next thing, don't do it. Pick 3 things that you're going to do consistently over and over and over and over and over again. And again, back to the door knocking and the open houses, and the same with social media. If you do it over and over again, you'll be blown away by the results.
Just to touch on that there, James and David as well. So marketing is my background, super passionate about this question as well. And a bit of advice I got at one point in my career was, you couldn't go to the gym once and all of a sudden have a 6-pack. That would be amazing. But so that idea of consistency, I talk about it all the time at SignMore with the wider team. If anyone follows SignMore on socials, we're at SignMore anywhere on Instagram. It is just through consistency. We get asked sometimes at events, how did you build a following? How have you managed to get to the point that SignMore's got a few thousand followers? It literally is just consistency. It's constantly engaging with your network, engaging with your audience, and providing new content every single week.
And another thing is, people come up with excuses all the time. It's like, why are you not doing business? I don't know. This went wrong. I lost that deal. Okay, great. Say you closed that deal. Then what? You know what I mean? Whether you close it or didn't close it, you've still got to have a pipeline. You've still got more. It's like back to the gym. It's like, you can't think yourself into getting fit. You can't think yourself into being successful. These excuses don't make sense. You've got to go out and do it. And we've shared, James, myself, Fraser, we've shared the formula. Everything's there for the taking. Not everything costs money, right? But if you combine door knocking, sitting open houses, doesn't cost you anything, with a very minimal cost of the subscription of SignMore, frankly, right? You can be out all the time. SignMore can free you to be sitting those open houses, to interface with clients, to go door knocking and not worry about your inbound leads not being answered, not worry about your phone calls not being answered. It's just a winning combination, which goes back to my point. There are no excuses. You have the tools. Everything's available to you, right? And we didn't even have your service, frankly, Fraser, when we first started out. Now people have that access and the ability to go out and door knock and sit these open houses. Genuinely, there's just no excuse. So you've made no excuse. That's what you guys have done. Created no excuse.
Yeah, no, I think some great advice and sort of answers to questions there. We'll pick up some more Q&A later on, just before we finish up. But looking onto this question here, we've touched a little bit on the kind of power of 24/7. So I think if everyone scans that QR code, Mentimeter should load again to kind of find out a bit more what everyone's tried and the audience that's watching. But I'm just really curious, James and David, from your side, I'm wondering, do you have any experiences or stories you could maybe share about when client calls have come in at a random time and how fruitful they've potentially been for your business?
Yeah, and you don't even know. The thing is, and I'll let James, I'll just do a quick brief answer to that, because I remember once I got a phone call from just some random number followed by some random email. And a lot of the time it's like, most of it is, not great. It's just the law of probability, right? But there was just one that came through, and I'll never forget it, that ended up being one of our biggest clients. And I'm talking about several $100 million of transactions from just some international, by the way, some random phone call, some random email that I could have missed. And had I missed that, right, it would have gone to someone else. And the fact that, you know, I look back onto it and I just think how significant. You never know when that one phone call is going to be the one, right? The relevance, even if it looks unassuming, it can change your life, literally. And you can't afford as an agent to miss that. And I'll hand it over to James.
No, I agree 100%. Listen, this is a business that, whether you like it or you don't, it is 24/7 and it's 365, right? Some of us love it. We live it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it. And some of us find balance very, very hard. You know, having a wife, having children, having a full-time career, that's hard in itself. You know, the idea of missing out on a deal and losing it to somebody else because you weren't on the ball or because you were in a meeting, or take this very webinar. If each and every one of us said we didn't look at our phone or email during this webinar, guaranteed you're lying. You know, we're glued to our phones. We're glued to our email. We're constantly checking, making sure we didn't miss out on something. It's just human nature. Our children are glued to their bloody phones. It's TikTok, it's Snapchat, it's Instagram, it's this, it's that. In this business as an adult, a phone call means making money, okay? It just does. And so missing a call also means potentially losing money. So I'm personally on the side of how do I make money and how do I capitalize on making money without destroying my lifestyle and having no balance. So if there is a world in which you can delegate and actually have balance and still not miss that phone call, and it's an easy way to do it, quite frankly, SignMore's a no-brainer. And I don't want this to become a big, I'm pushing SignMore. It's not. It's just logic. It's just human nature. It, quite frankly, should have been around 10 years ago, not now. But the reality is phone calls make money. And in this business, if you're a hustler and you're trying to make a huge success out of yourself, you better make sure you're not missing phone calls. And I could give you 100 examples of calls that have come in at 6 a.m., 10 at night, midnight, 2 a.m. Have I missed some of them? Absolutely. Do I try and get to most of them? Of course. But if there's a way to delegate out, not miss the call, and get back to someone in a timely manner, pretty much assure you over time it's going to be beneficial to you.
Guaranteed.
Awesome. No, absolutely. No, and thank you for the much love for SignMore. It's super appreciated. Ultimately, you know, SignMore really is here just to help. You know, foundationally, as I said earlier, trusted sidekick behind the scenes. You are the leader out front. You know what's right for your business. But if we can be here to help, so you don't miss those vital calls as they come through, then that's, you know, obviously beneficial to you. In terms of some 24/7 solutions, we put this slide up just a little bit. If you're thinking around maybe your strategy when it comes to being 24/7 and potential opportunities out there, you know, SignMore's obviously one option here. We thought we'd just have a quick look at some of the others that you could potentially use and maybe why they aren't the best fit. Chatbots, I think, you know, they have their place maybe for kind of, you know, utility and kind of like, you know, very basic service. But I think when you're selling a home, you know, someone expects a premium service. You know, one of the biggest purchase decisions of your clients' lives, they expect someone real. You know, you don't want to outsource that to a bot. And I'd say the same with AI and automation, you know, further down there. AI absolutely has a place in real estate. It does. You know, it can help you write listings. It can help you edit photos, edit videos. There's so much development there, but it is a sad world in which you want to outsource your relationship with your direct client to artificial intelligence or a bot. You know, really, you're in this game.
Has anyone received a call from an AI bot yet? I have, and it's bloody awful.
Yes.
Just, I guarantee you it won't be in a couple of years, but right now,
well, if it won't be in a couple of years, we're all fucked anyway. But anyway.
But no, truly, you know, I think it's like, you know, it's someone's biggest purchase decision, potentially of their life, or certainly of that year, or maybe that decade. They want to speak to you. You're the expert. You know, they want to speak to a real person. And if you're unavailable or it's after hours, the best next scenario is a real person, whether that's someone in your in-house team. But again, that's a fantastic solution until people have to go to sleep or are in meetings or on vacation or other things that humans, you know, we need to do. So really kind of, you know, what we're saying at SignMore is the next best solution is always to have that real person by your side to make sure that your clients, when they're looking for you, are speaking to a real person and getting that human connection.
Yeah,
totally.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So the next question I have, not to put James and David on the spot, but I'm sure a lot of the listeners here will be really interested to know, what is the difference in real estate and how do you need to level up your client experience from kind of, day-to-day sales to really pushing into that, $1 million bracket with, high net worth individuals and kind of multi-million-dollar homes?
Go for it, Dave.
I think it's just your mindset, ultimately. Everyone says to James and I, it's like, I remember I was speaking once years ago, and I was at a school, in fact, speaking to a bunch of students that as a career thing, whatever it was. And someone said, what made you, how did you go, or why did you go for the high end straight away? And I just answered, why not? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's there for the taking. A lot of people just think that they can't. And that is literally listening to your mind talking negative to you. It's not true. James and I were like, why wouldn't we go for the high end? Why wouldn't we go to Bel Air, Beverly Hills, Hollywood Hills West, and door knock there? Why wouldn't we hit up those areas? And it was just a decision of a mindset to believe that we can do it, and nothing was going to stop us until we achieved what we were out to achieve. So I would just start, and I'll hand it to James, but I would just start with your mindset. Don't doubt yourself. All that fear that doesn't really, it's not even real. It's like, just get through that, because if you see successful agents, if you see successful people doing amazing things in the world and this industry specifically, the only thing that's stopping you from doing it is yourself, and just get over that,
Yeah, the only thing I will add to that is the last word on the screen is the experience, right? Everything is an experience. And if you want to move into a higher price point, you have to create an experience. The experience starts with you. It's your brand. It's who you are. It's what you're about. It's where you go. It's the people you hang out with. It's the people you hang around with. It's the experience that you really do create with the customer. If that experience becomes something special, something memorable, if you can do something with that client that they haven't done before, or take them to a place they haven't been before, outside of real estate, you're starting to create something very special. But always keep in mind and remember that business in sales, no matter what you're selling, it does not matter what you're selling. You are creating an experience. Whether you're going in to buy a car, you got a bad car salesman and a good car salesman, it's the experience. You go into a clothing store and you've got a high-end clothing brand versus a cheap one. It's the experience. It's whether you're selling $100,000 home or $1 million home. It's the experience. If you can make the customer feel special, feel loved, feel wanted, feel unique, and you can create that experience, they will continue to come back. So always level up, because high end isn't always about the price point. It is always about the experience that you provide. So truly think about the experience that you can offer and make it special and make it different to the experience that they had before, and always focus on the experience, and you will be blown away by the response.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. It reminds me of, there was a book that was doing the rounds at SignMore towards the end of last year. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And he basically kind of took over a restaurant in New York City and worked to make that restaurant the #1 restaurant in the world. It's a fantastic read, by the way. I'd recommend it to anyone. Unreasonable Hospitality, if anyone's looking for a cool read. But in that book, he really talked about this idea of how you can level up the experience, go above and beyond, and really, everyone has a base level of experience or kind of expectations, no matter which industry you're going in. This is obviously a restaurant versus real estate, but it doesn't matter. Everyone has a base level of expectations. How can you raise the bar? And he talked about the power of gifting, the power of, going above and beyond, the power of predicting your client's next step. So yeah, I think there's some really good lessons within that book and what James has just said there.
100%.
One example from that book actually that I think is quite a good one for real estate in particular is he talks about the power of gifting and gifting with purpose. So, I think maybe an example when it comes to real estate, if you get to know your client and create that, amazing rapport with them, if they've mentioned that they want to turn, a certain room into, I don't know, a fitness area, or they've got a dog that they're super in love with, maybe when it comes to giving a gift at, the point of exchanging keys, that's something you could then reflect in your gifting strategy to make it feel super personal. And that's something that goes above and beyond and unexpected.
And I think also, don't forget, it's like, people think when you close a deal, that's the end of it, right? That's really just the beginning of it, right? If you are there for your client, if you check in with them, if you become friends with them, if you, like James said, make them feel like they're your only client, then guess what? They're going to sell their house with you. Circumstances change. It's so important to not just end it at closure of a deal. That's just the beginning. That's the start.
Yep, absolutely. So I think we've got some time for a last kind of quick Q&A, and then we'll start to kind of wrap up. Who have we got asking questions just now?
Yeah, we'll do short, quick answers, and then we will get to this. Okay, from George, market doesn't have much luxury inventory. Should I move? Well, we don't know the market you're in, and I will tell you right now, George, nowhere in America has much inventory right now. You have to go out and truly create the inventory. You have to go and find the inventory. Now, if you're working in a market that really doesn't have luxury inventory, but there's a market an hour drive away, get in the car every day, drive the hour, and go and do it. There's no excuse to not find inventory. There's no excuse to not be able to move into luxury. Okay, you can always find luxury. And again, luxury is not always defined by a price point as much as it is a lifestyle. So if there really is no luxury inventory in your local market, think about how far away you are from where there is luxury inventory and go and find it and create it. We've all had to get creative and think outside of the box during COVID, and even out to now. People are doing email blast campaigns. People are calling expireds. People are door knocking. We're all out there at all price points from 500,000 to 100 million trying to find luxury inventory. So
what do they say? They say losers make excuses, winners find a way, right?
Winners find a way, losers make excuses.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
And we're not calling you a loser. Let me make that very, very clear. Dave and I used to work in a very cutthroat boiler room, intense, very, very cutthroat. And, we'd always find excuses of why we didn't want to make that call, or we didn't want to do something. And our boss at the time, he was not a nice guy, but it did stick with us. He used to go, winners find a way, losers make excuses. And it kind of was ingrained into our mind.
But it's true.
There's no reason to ever make an excuse to not get what you want. Be a winner, go and find it, go and get it. And there's always a way.
Totally, there is. Okay,
tips for door knocking. Go for it, Dave. And then I know
consistency. If you're not consistent, forget about it. I remember someone came back to me once and they said, "Oh my God, I just door knocked this whole street and it was great." Never heard from them again about door knocking. They went that one time, pointless. They basically wasted a day on door knocking because they didn't follow up. People need to see repetition. Be consistent, pick your location, give them a takeaway, have some bit of information that you can share with whoever you're knocking on the door. You can't just knock on the door and not really, do you want to sell your house? That doesn't sound very good, right? It's just about, befriending people, getting them familiar with you, giving them something, a snippet about the market, right? Maybe mention that you guys or your brokerage or of another listing coming up close to them and engage their interest. But definitely give them something that they wouldn't know otherwise, right? Market information, something about another sale close by, and literally get to know those people, but be consistent. You're never going to get to know them without being consistent. Over to you, Jim.
The only thing I'll tell you guys is we have an entire course, and a huge part of our course is on door knocking.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to direct you towards that, but Well, if you're interested, find a way to contact us and we'll send you the link to that. All right, we got 1 minute to go, and I really want you to give everyone the QR code, Fraser, so they know where to go and what to do and how to do it.
So there we go. So there we are on screen. Hopefully that QR code works for everyone. And I think along the screen, we also have signmore.com/James and David. That is the URL for James and David's exclusive partner page with SignMore, where you can find out more about our services and also get 30% off your first 3 months on SignMore's best value plan. Please check it out. We will also follow up after this webinar with an email summarizing some of the key points and maybe 1 or 2 extra things that we didn't quite get to today, in addition to this QR code, so that you can find out more and hopefully sign up.
Just scan it myself. Go scan the QR code. I got it right here. I don't know if you can see. And I really hope that everybody in the group today was able to take away at least one thing that was helpful, beneficial, and we thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, Fraser. Thank you for having us, and thank you to everybody for joining us today, and we look forward to speaking to every one of you again very, very soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.